everyone, I'm Kim Trathen, business and marketing coach, and welcome to episode 24 of Girls Talk Business. So I'm really excited for my guest to come on today. It always takes just a minute to get organized and see that my guest is on and bring her on live. And I am also going to try to share this quickly on my personal page as well. My guest today is Dawn. I'm going to have to ask her how to say her last name. I'm not sure if it's Leas. She is owner of a business called The Hammock Writer. And I'm super excited to talk to Dawn today because, like a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of women in business, she had worked in the education field specifically, but she had worked a corporate job for a very long time, and she had this burning desire to get back to freelance and start doing what she loves. Oh, and I'm going to cut myself off. I see Dawn is on. Dawn, I am adding you right now. To have an invitation to accept. And then through the magic of Facebook, we should be a side-by-side split screen once you accept that. So let's see.
Hi!
Oh, I'm so excited to have you on the show today, Dawn.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. How do you pronounce your last name?
Leas.
Leas. Okay,
Leas.
I wasn't sure.
Yes.
Leas.
Nobody does. So.
You never know with last names. You never know.
I know.
So I am trying to, if my internet here will cooperate, I'm on my Chromebook over here trying to quickly share this onto my personal page so that we can expand our reach here. But I will continue talking, and as I'm looking away, I'm just trying to get that organized there. So I was just starting to share with everybody that, like a lot of women, like a lot of entrepreneurs, you had worked a corporate job. Well, you were specifically in the education field for a large number of years. And that then you decided you really wanted to get back to the freelance work. Sounds like get back to writing, which you really, really enjoy. So before we start talking about that journey and about what it was like to take that plunge, can you first share with everybody what you do as the Hammock Writer and who you work with, and share a little bit about your current business first?
Sure. I've been doing this now since about August 2017, and I create and lead online writing groups where people can join 2 weeks or 4 weeks where we just kind of explore creative writing. I work with individuals to edit and polish their manuscripts, or even if they want like editing suggestions on short stories or individual poems. I'll also work with individuals that way.
Wow.
I do a little bit of marketing and content writing because I have a background in advertising and PR and marketing. And I do in-person writing retreats, and currently I'm also a poet in residence at a local school. So I go into the school once a month and work with students as little. I went in and read with the preschoolers, which was just a blast, and then all the way through grade 12. So I'll be doing that for the rest of the school year. So a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yes. And how great that you get to combine that background that you have in education and now bring your current love and passion into the school systems. That's pretty amazing.
It is. It is. It's a lot of fun.
So bring us back further ago than, let's see, August 2017 is when you launched your business. I know I had put in some of the graphics, not everybody might have seen, but it sounds like you went through a pretty major life change when you separated and divorced your husband, and you had been married for a very long time. Had you already been unhappy working in education prior to that happening?
You know, I was thinking about this today because I've had a lot of different job jumps, and in each job I've gotten gifts from them. So while there was always this little part of me that's like, oh, I want to get back into the freelance world, like each experience of my jobs, there were parts of it that I just absolutely loved. You know, when I was in my 20s, I was a copywriter at a local ad agency, and it was just, my first mentor was just so wonderful in helping me kind of get started in that world, and then working my way into education and teaching, and then working in higher ed. So I've loved all of my jobs, but there always was this kind of sense of, I know what I really want to do, and I can see it in the distance, but not quite sure how to get there, or not quite sure when the right time to get there is. So, you know, I remember sitting on a beach year after year on spring break with my kids and just writing in my journal and being like, this is where you want to go, and how are you going to get there? So, yes, there was some unhappiness, but there was also a lot of gratitude for what those jobs, the skill sets that they gave to me so I could go on and do this.
And that's so great that you were able to still appreciate the value that those jobs brought, because sometimes when it's not 100% fulfilling, I think it can be really difficult sometimes for people to keep focused on the positives in the situation when it's not 100% what they want to be doing. So that's amazing that you were. Now you said when you were at a beach on spring break. So where are you located? Where do you live?
I live in northeastern Pennsylvania, so a couple of
Okay.
hours north of Philadelphia and a couple of hours west of New York City.
Awesome. Anybody catching the replay, watching live, drop and share where you're watching from. It's super exciting to see where the Girls Talk Business Show travels around the world. I love seeing it. So that's amazing. So bring us now. I think a lot of people can probably relate to your story of, working in this job, pros, cons, moving around some different fields. What was going on at home though? Because you ended up separating from your husband after 26 years.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime, right?
It is a lifetime. And I mean, we were married very young, so it was really my whole adult life. So there was a lot of ups and downs, and we have two wonderful sons. They're both adults now. And so it was really there were some really good points and kind of being like, this is going to be my life. And then other points, obviously towards the end, like what is really my life going to be? And just really feeling kind of stuck in life and not wanting to call it like a midlife crisis, because things were just bubbling, and trying to write my way through it. I am a poet, and so I've been writing my whole life since I was 10. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle to get to this point. The road was a difficult one to make the choices that I made. And this is actually the first time I'm talking about it publicly. So even that, it's just like, oh, yes. I mean, other than talking with friends and family about it. So,
Right.
so when we did get to the decision where we were going to separate, was, it was a heartache and a relief at the same time for me. And then just the last couple of years kind of going through that mourning process, that grieving process that you go through with any major life event. And I'm trying to focus on the positives of the relationship and what I've learned, and trying to make sure that I own where I went wrong, and trying to fix those things in me and in my personality traits that hopefully I don't do them again.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful though. What a great perspective to be able to look inside yourself too and acknowledge that nobody is perfect. Everybody makes bad choices. And I think oftentimes certain relationships, you can get stuck in cycles with each other where it's not always healthy on both sides of it, but it can be really difficult, I think, for some people to recognize that within themselves. So kudos to you. I just think a lot of people, I mean, if you just straight look at the divorce rate and you think in your own life of how many people you know that have gone through it, it is a major tragic life event for people to go through. But unfortunately, it is very common. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to what you've gone through. And I think it's really important, too, to highlight that I know so many women that felt so much shame when they were going through a divorce. And I don't know if it comes from guilt. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know as many men that have expressed that they felt shame. So I don't know if that is more women that feel that or not. But I think it's really important, too, to have those conversations so that women and men know that they don't have to feel shameful if this marriage didn't work, that sometimes two people are better not together.
Right. And it is that whole idea of, the perfect dream of what you expect life going to be. And I certainly had that. And I mean, if you had asked me at 20 or 25 if I would be where I am today, I would have been like, heck no, there's just, no way I wouldn't do that. And so there is the shame, and there's the guilt, and there's the grief, and it's like, what if, and am I doing, all of those questions swirl, but at a moment where you just need to make a decision and be at peace with whichever decision, whichever side you land on, whether you're going to stay in a relationship or not. And I have respect for my former husband, and he is an amazing dad to our son. So I try to focus on that.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Looks like we have a few people watching live with us. It looks like we have a few people out on the East Coast. Hi, Megan. Hi, Amy. Charnay is watching. I already know Charnay can drop it too, but she's joining us all the way from South Africa. She's
Oh my
absolutely
gosh,
amazing.
yay.
So wonderful. Let's see. I'm going to read this comment, Dawn, because I never know if
Okay.
you can see the comments too. It
I
seems to be hit
cannot.
and miss. Okay. I've had
Okay.
some guests that can and some that can't. So I
Okay.
don't know if it's a setting. I'm not sure. So
Sure.
Megan Carolyn, I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name right.
You are, yes.
Okay, excellent. She said, anyone else hearing the Hamilton lyrics wrote my way out when Dawn said she was trying to write through the ups and downs. Yes. Gonna have to listen to that after this now. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, thank you for the comment, Megan. So now let's talk a bit about you've made this hard, you've collectively, you and your husband
Yes.
are now, you've made this hard choice. You've separated. Was the divorce finalized when you started really considering freelancing again, or were you going through that
Um,
separation?
it it was kind of like all at the same time. You know, I was working a job in a president's office at a local university, and again, like I was surrounded by these colleagues that were just tremendously supportive and
Uh-huh.
kind of uplifting me at times when you know I didn't feel like I could come to work, and if I cried at work, they were okay with that, and I will always be indebted and grateful to them for that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, what am I going to do with my life? My children are grown, and I've always thought about maybe leaving the geographic area where I lived then and still do, and so I started thinking about like getting back to the core of what brings absolute joy into my life, which is my own writing and just working with other people and teaching and writing. So how can I do that? And so I did start thinking about freelancing. And so I could maybe have a home base somewhere and then, be able to work from wherever I wanted to go and travel. And so that was kind of like a seed in the back of my head. But I also had like those traditional and conventional ideas of like, you're getting divorced, you have to support yourself. You need a job
Mm-hmm.
with benefits and a retirement plan. So it was really, kind of just working its way in my head. And then I just thought, well, my life is just in total upheaval. Why not just do it all at one time and get it over with? And but I
It's like
really didn't have
ripping
a
that Band-Aid off.
right,
Just rip
right.
it off.
But I did not have a plan for it. I had this idea, and I think I mentioned to you I had. My boss had come into my office to talk about some things at the end of the year, and he knew that I wanted to maybe go somewhere and move geographically. So he was just kind of asking me about that, and he's like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I literally just said, I think I want to freelance. I think, and no plan. And he just kind of talked through it with me and said, "Well, what does that look
Wow.
like? And how long do you think you'll want to stay? And when are we going to communicate this change?" And he really was just totally supportive right up until the end. One time, like it was the week I was leaving, he was joking. He's like, "You can stay a couple more months if you want." And I said, "Thank you, but I think it's definitely time for me to take this, leap." And so that's what I did. And again,
Wow.
with, his tremendous support.
That's awesome because I don't think a lot of people find that in a job with their employer, with their boss, whatever,
Right.
that really looks like for each person. I don't think a lot of people have that type of open conversation, or at least don't feel like they can have that type of an open conversation.
Right.
Because maybe they're worried like, oh, if I say something, they're just going to let me go right now and I'm not really ready, or,
Exactly.
different worries and fears like that. So that's pretty powerful and pretty amazing that you were comfortable enough, whether you thought it out ahead of time or just
Right.
blurted out of your mouth, but either way it came out.
Yes.
And it sounds like he handled it really well. So that's pretty awesome. So how long did you stay on with them until, like, how long was that period?
Sure. So that was, it was 2 years ago, like right around now. So,
Oh,
and
wow.
I stayed, so through the, first 8.5 months of 2017. So I was there for a good portion of the time. He and I talked about it. I think he announced the move maybe like in April or May. I can't remember quite exactly when he did that. And then I left in mid-August.
So when you left, did you have a
Mm-hmm.
more clearly defined vision of what this was going to look like for you? Or did you leave and go, okay, now I have to make this happen?
Yeah, it was kind of somewhere in between. Like I've always had this clear vision of like seeing the other side of like a canyon and being like, okay, this is what this is what my weekly work life is going to look like, and these are the components that I want in it. And it's really amazing because the more I was able to be open about it and talk about moving, different opportunities kind of just came about through being open and talking. So I did have some clients kind of lined up and some things lined up before I actually left. And those have kind of ebbed and flowed as well as it usually does in, the freelance world. So I had an idea, I had sort of a plan, but I did not do a business proposal or, anything like that, which I would highly recommend people, do. But I did it more, I guess it's been more an organic process for me as things kind of come along and different opportunities. I just kind of sit back and say, is this what you want in your work life, or do you want to try it and see how it goes? And I've kind of been leading by instinct, mostly.
I love that too, because so often, and again, I see this more with women than I have with the men that I know. But women oftentimes second guess themselves with those gut feelings. And instead of listening to that instinct or that intuition, that gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, instead of listening to it, so many women, and I've been guilty of it in the past too, try to justify it away. Oh, I'm probably being silly. I'm being ridiculous. I'm overthinking it, whatever. However they justify it, they start to justify those feelings away instead of going with that gut feeling. And I think 90% of the time, that gut feeling, you have it for a reason. And it is a very powerful thing to listen to.
I completely agree. I've spent most of my adult life kind of pushing away those gut feelings, and for the good of the whole, or because this isn't the right time, or I'm trying to be responsible, and not that a gut feeling can't be responsible, but I think I just kind of always had those notions of this is the way your life is supposed to look, so just follow that path, and I've just pretty much veered off into the wild.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations to you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about, so what clients do you work with? Do you work with solopreneurs? Do you work with individuals? Do you work with men and women? Who do you really focus on?
So I would have to say primarily it is a female client base. I have had some men in my workshops. I'm open to having that, but it is primarily women. Most of the women that I've worked with so far in my online writing groups have some writing experience, maybe or like knee deep in their creative writing and want to just kind of have a community to come to and kind of share ideas and rough drafts. And then some who are just maybe like stuck or not really, haven't really been focusing on their writing, but they're looking at something to give them like, oh, I have a deadline. I'm getting a writing prompt that I then need to respond to. So it's kind of beginner, mid, and maybe people who are just trying to like reinvigorate their creative process.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So before we talk about your top 2 tips, I want to talk a minute about the hammock in your living room. Do you literally have a hammock in your living room?
I do, and I'm gonna fiddle with this, and I'm sorry if I give anyone vertigo, because here you can see it. Like that's part of
you're in your hammock right now. I love it.
Yes. So I'm in the hammock, and this is again not something that I planned, but I had moved into an apartment and I didn't really have a lot of furniture, and I got this hammock, and I had no intention of leaving it up. It was really just like, it's one that it's heavy, but you could take it, it comes in a little bag, and I'm like, well, this would be cool to like get outside. And then, I put it up and then I got in it, and it's like, well, this is really comfortable and it's kind of a calm thing to do. And then I started, reading or taking a nap, or I do meditate in it a lot too. And you can watch TV, you can move it around my living room, so you can watch TV or watch a movie in it as well. And again, I had, my website was not The Hammock Writer when I started. It was just my name. And I was trying to do a business Instagram account. And I'm like, well, what do I want to call myself? Like, what do I really want to be? And I was like sitting at my writing table, and I looked over at the hammock, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. The Hammock Writer. And so it just has kind of evolved from there. Yes.
I love it. I don't know if you saw the comment. Excuse me. I think it was on Instagram. I don't think it was on Facebook, but I can't remember for sure who said it. Somebody said a hammock in the living room, something about my new life goal.
Yes.
And I was like, yes.
I did see it. And, there's so many different ones that you can get. Like you could get a chair one and hang it from the ceiling. So, I mean, mine is pretty big. It does, take up it's on a stand, but I have no intention of taking it down. And I do have a nylon one that you can take out into the woods and kind of tie to trees.
Oh,
that
yeah.
I got it for my birthday recently, so I can't wait to try that out too. But I really recommend a hammock in the house, anywhere in your house. It's just a very calming kind of thing.
Yes, I love hammocks. I just worry at this stage, my youngest just turned 6 like a week ago, and I'm afraid this would be like a jungle gym. Like we would be doing flips in the hammock because I have 3 boys and they're all wild. So
I hear you on that. Absolutely.
I will have a hammock in my house at some point. I just might have to wait until they're a little older and more trustworthy.
You might even need to wait until they're in college, because I just don't know how high school boys would really handle that either. I know.
We have quite a few years of this ahead of us still. So now I would love to talk about your top 2 tips. Do you have them in front of you, or do you need me to prompt you? You have them? Awesome.
Yes, I have my little tip sheet. So do you want me to just read both of them and explain why?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. So I think the first one, and this really kind of goes in all aspects of life, not just if you're starting a business, is ask for help. Like, I am a person who just never wanted to ask for help. I can do it myself. I'll figure it out. But asking for help is, to me, a form of self-care. And again, if you want to really, dive deeply into WordPress and figure out how everything works in WordPress because you have a real interest in it for your website, I say, go for it. I've kind of dabbled in it, a little bit. But if there are things like tech or marketing things, social media, that are kind of slowing your progress down because the learning curve is so much, sometimes it's just better to hire somebody to do it. Ask a friend who might have an interest or knowledge in that expertise, and you can trade services with friends, or you can make them a really good meal or bake them something, as a thank you. But ask for help, I think, is just a really important.
Yes. And I love that you pointed out that it really applies to all areas of life, because I feel like somebody to watch your children is something that a lot of moms struggle with when they are starting their business and their kids are too young, and they feel guilty, like, I already work, or whatever it is, we're already busy. Like, how can I ask somebody else to watch my kids for me to build my business? But it is critical that you have time to work on your business, even that if that does mean you have an extra 3 hours that the kids go to grandma's house, or, whatever.
Exactly. Yes.
Whatever it is. But I think help with the children is a huge one too, that a lot of women battle that guilt over when they're in that business growth mode.
Oh, I completely agree. When my kids were younger, I freelanced for a while in my 20s, and I picked 2 nights a week when I was getting started, and be like, when they're in bed, I'm going to spend 2 or 3 hours and just go to the computer and do work. And then as I started doing more and more work that needed to be done during the day, my mother was a godsend. She would come and hang out with them in my house or take them somewhere. Not full time, but just having, those hour or two here at increments is just really a help.
It is. And I feel like too many people try to work on their business with their kids there, thinking that that'll be helpful. And then your attention is divided between your kids and you're trying to work. And I know my kids are at the weird age where I can do that sometimes, and other times I just can't. So, I mean, I've picked up extra daycare while building my business. My husband has been home with the kids, and I'll go to a coffee shop. I have done a ton of that, because oftentimes I find if I'm trying to sit down and work and the kids are right there, it's like, then they know, mom,
exactly,
mom. And I'm like, I just want to get this done.
Exactly.
And then I feel like I have no patience with anybody.
Yeah.
It's just,
and it doesn't really end, because like my older son in particular, and I'm going to call him out on this, he'll call me during the day, and I'll be like, okay, like let's talk. And I might be like right in the middle of something. And if I'm in the middle of something really important, like I don't like interrupt it, but sometimes it's like, okay, I have 5 minutes because I really have to get back to this project. So it's a lifelong journey with children.
So I got a long while yet, is what you're saying.
A little bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. All right. What is your tip number 2?
Don't get lost in the learning. I tell people all the time, I just want to keep learning, until the day I die. There's so many things out there that you can absorb and gain knowledge for. But when you're working on your business and you're going to look for something specific, like a tool or a skill that you're trying to learn for the business, I think the internet is a wonderful thing, and there are just so many experts who have, wonderful products and wonderful courses and ideas and books to share. But sometimes I think when you're trying to just do a market sweep of everything, you can just get bogged down by that, just by the signing up and the studying and the researching. So maybe pick just a few and follow those people, or subscribe to their mailing lists and see what knowledge they're sharing, how it's helping you, and then reevaluate maybe every 6 or 9 months and say, okay, have I learned what I needed to from these people, and do I need to move on to another set and it can be overwhelming too. And then I think that leads to just feeling like you're stuck in molasses and you're just not sure, where to go. And it can lead to inaction and indecision.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I completely agree. Doing nothing but consuming content does not directly grow your business. Learning is important and you need to learn those things. But if all you're doing is consuming, at some point here, you need to start creating. You need to start putting out your content, and you're finding clients and growing your business, whatever type of business you're in. So yes, I completely agree. So I'm really excited. You have a special offer to share with the Girls Talk Business viewers. While you talk about that offer, or before you talk about it, can you explain a little bit more about how your workshops work?
Yes, I will. Yes. So the offer that I'm going to talk about is tied to, I do 2-week online groups, and they start on Sundays, and I send out 6 prompts over the course of the 2 weeks. And I send them out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to give the weekend some time for people to catch up if they want to catch up. They're usually themed, and you receive the prompt in your email. You write to the prompt, and I usually give 3 or 4 different choices. And then I create a private Facebook group where we come together as a group and people share their writing, and the group participants give feedback as well as I do. And the way I run the feedback I give, I usually try to say, here's what I think is really working in this. And then here are ideas that if you decide that you're going to continue to work on this outside of the group, here's some revision tips that you might want to take with you. And I do know somebody just emailed me the other day, and she's like, I'm working on 2 pieces that I just did in your November group. So I think some people use it just as like a jump start, and then some people do use it to kind of continue working on a piece, whether it's for publication or just because they would like to continue to write it.
And what do you mean by there's usually themes? What would be an example of a theme?
So in November, my group was called Let's Eat, and I collaborated with a food blogger, and we picked 6 of her recipes. Oh, it was so much fun. And we picked 6 of her recipes, and I had made a couple of them already, so I had photos of them, and then I made a couple, and I would use the photo in the prompt, and then it would center around, food of tradition. What food tradition does your family have would be one of the writing prompts. And my December group right now is about abundance. Abundance was the word I picked for 2018, and I kind of wanted to end the year by myself writing about it. So I thought, well, I'm going to theme the group that. So we're writing about abundance and how it shows up in our lives and where we might want to find more of it going into the new year. And so my group in January is called Fresh Starts, and I ran this group last January too, and I'm going to edit some of the prompts. It's not going to be exactly the same, but just talking about where fresh starts can take us in life, whether it is a new career or, the ending of a relationship, the beginning of a relationship, where these fresh starts kind of percolate in our lives and what we can write about them. And people can choose to write poetry or prose. It's really kind of more of a free-flowing kind of group with that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. How fitting, just with the new year and you're planning ahead and your goal setting, and what a great time. I love that you do the Fresh Starts theme. That's awesome.
Yes.
So what is your offer?
So the offer for that 2-week group, the Fresh Starts, is a $20 discount off of it's normally $90 to join the group. So there is a code, just TALK20, that people can use when they're checking out on my website, and it will give them the course for $70 rather than $90.
And so how long is that code valid?
I left it valid until the day that the course opens, which is January 6th.
Okay.
The course runs January 6th through the 20th.
Awesome. So when we wrap up here, then I will update the description to this video, and I'll make sure to include your offer right in there, and I will include that discount code, the Talk 20.
Okay.
I'll make sure to include that right in the description also.
Great. Okay.
So excellent. Dawn, thank you so much for coming on Girls Talk Business.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I love that you do this. I was watching some of the other videos, and it's so much fun. So thank you.
Thank you. I love it. It's so amazing. Every single woman I have had on has been just awesome to talk to. And it's funny how wildly different every person's life is, wildly different the experiences are, but there will still be this common thread. I was actually thinking about this earlier, talking about the shame that there is with divorce. And the women that I've had on the show that have been let go experience those same emotions as the women I've had on that have gone through divorce, with the shame, the guilt, the regret. Like it's all of it. It's such a reminder to how different events in your life can bring up these same emotions when we go through them. So it's been pretty incredible. You're my 24th guest.
Oh, that's my mom's favorite number.
Oh, well, it was fitting then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And then I'll have a guest next week, and that'll close out 2018. And then we'll start fresh after the new year with more Girls Talk Business. So I'm excited for it.
Well, I look forward to tuning in.
Thank you. Thank you again for being on. I appreciate your time, Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.